Guys, welcome back to Rise and Grind. Happy Monday. How was your weekend?
It was so relaxing.
Good.
Yeah, how was yours?
Are you manifesting the next weekend already? I like it.
I am.
No, it was definitely good. Great weekend, relaxing. I've really been starting to take the weekends for, like, I've used to say things like, I want to recharge or do whatever. And you know, now one of the things I've been doing a lot more so is being super, super present on the weekends.
That's so important.
And the one thing that I started to realize about myself is I meditated in the past because like I just saw Tony Robbins did it and like really successful people did it.
Mm-hmm.
But now like it is legitimately such a heavy part of my life every day.
That's amazing.
But on the weekends, so like for whatever reason, because life happens, if I can't get to it during the week, I always have like non-negotiable like weekends, like I have to meditate. And it's just so good for me. My God, clearing thoughts, putting things in the right perspectives and stuff. So definitely love. It was a meditative, restorative weekend for me. So, but I want to see if you guys, who here meditates? If you meditate, pop it in the comments. I'm curious. I know a lot of people who don't actually. Most people that I know don't versus do. It's helped me tremendously. Do you meditate?
I do meditate, but you actually mentioned something else, the non-negotiables, and something that I've been more and more attuned with is just what my non-negotiables are for having a good week, right? So like there's things that I know that I have to do during the weekend for me to have a smooth operating week. And I think, you know, Rob Dyrdek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he's the most organized guy on the planet.
He has an SOP for his family. I'm not even kidding. He has a written SOP for how his family should operate. Every single individual, their chores throughout the week, every single detail is included in that.
I love it and I hate it.
I know, but I think about it a lot because it's like, I know for me, you know, to go grocery shopping and the meal prep and this, that, and the other on top of when the week starts, I'm moving and grooving. Like there's no slowing me down throughout the week. So during the weekend, I have to accomplish a very specific set of tasks, incling meditation, including self-care for me to have a good week. So
household things.
Exactly.
Definitely get that. Yeah. He's so insanely organized. And I think I like it from the perspective of like, everybody knows what they're doing, whatever else, you know, and they're all on a task like throughout the week and like they know where they're supposed to be and stuff. But the reason why I don't like it is because, simply put, like it's so unrealistic in your personal life, right?
Yeah.
And this is the problem, right? So like as an example, like Jack's not going to love this, right? But I'm going to be honest. It's like at the end of the day, like people, like for instance, when you wind up getting married, so Rob Dyrdek's kids, right? Let's just say they're all like him, like just time organization machines, right?
Right.
You marry somebody, or you fall in love with somebody, you love them, but you realize that they're not that person, right? That could be a massive deal breaker.
Oh, yeah.
And most people do not operate that way. So I guess my only thing there that I don't like about it is the flexibility in it, because realistically, like when you look at some of the people who are really successful, even in just in health perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Most of the people that I see that are really ultra successful, I guess I'll use Alex Hormozi as an example. He talks a lot about how like, you know, people talk about the morning guru routine, or like I got to hit the gym every single day, or I can never eat a cupcake. He's like, those people typically don't sustain.
No.
Like typically they wind up failing because they're over it. They want the cupcake and then they drive to a point where they just blow up.
Sure.
Where he's like, if you just wake up and you don't meditate, just try to meditate tomorrow. And if like you don't ever, and then eventually it becomes important enough where you do it, but you're still flexible enough to where if it doesn't happen, the world's not over.
That's true.
And I guess to me, I know that Rob is so intense. I've seen so many podcasts about how insane he is. I didn't know that he does it with his family, but like at the end of the day, for me, like I don't like the mindset of, because you have to remember, he's raising kids, and if the kids think that way and then they're in school and school is running a little bit late because the bus isn't coming, they're gonna be fucked. Like,
that is
like, what
true.
the hell?
And you learn to adapt to different situations when you have the freedom to, right?
And maybe he does this. We don't know that part, so I don't want to speak for him. But I guess what I'm saying is I like it. Like I like the chores for the kids, and I like this. You know, Julian ain't got no damn chores over there. No, Rob even got no damn chores.
But you know, even just for yourself, I guess the reason I mention it is because I know, and I've learned over the past few years, when I don't do certain habits, I don't have the best week possible. So some habits are really important for me. Not that I have to map out every single hour of my weekend.
Yeah, and he's nuts.
But I know that there are a few different tasks that I really need to complete for me to have a good week. And if I don't complete them, then I just know that I might have a shaky week.
Right.
And, you know, I have to figure out where to put that task in. But
totally.
the non-negotiables are very important to me lately.
Yeah. That's huge. So diving right in here, we got some interesting things. So, we do a lot of research on our own clients, on just the market, what's going on. Because again, our goal here is to give you the best information so you're informed and can make the better decisions on brand, on marketing, on whatever else. And if you need support in the process, we're here for you, obviously. But with that said, 110-year-old company, Stanley, right? So we're about to talk to Megan. Megan is one of the basic bitches that got a Stanley Cup, okay? Now, did you get that or did Chris get that for you?
His sister got it for me, actually.
Wow, okay, so even better, right? Yeah. So with that said, Stanley, right, it was a 110-year-old company. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So I was doing extensive research on this. So essentially, year over year, for the past couple of years previous to this viral cup that Megan's holding, can you show it real quick? Pop it in the middle of the thing. So this exact cup right here, okay? Boom, this cup right here. Do you know how much this is? I didn't even look it up.
I don't
roughly?
know. I don't know. Be worth it. 30, I love the handle.
$40, something like that?
Probably.
Rob, how much is that Stanley Cup? Can you look it up?
$30. I'll look it up.
He's probably in the bathroom. So anyway, but year over year before, they're a really healthy size.
$35, just about.
Okay, $35. Yeah. So which is better? It's I think it's priced better than a Yeti, right? Because Yetis, if it's that size, because I know Yetis are freaking expensive.
Yeah, they're $45 for that size, so about $10 less.
So tons more. All right.
Just about.
So nonetheless, for the past 5 to 6 years, whatever, that Stanley, the business has been doing about 73 million roughly, right? Mm-hmm. And so again, 110-year-old company. So what was the difference between them doing that and then in 2022 going into 2023, went from 73 million to 750 million, right?
Yeah.
So what was the difference? So in our deep research that we started to do, there was one thing that they pinned it down to, right? It's like a fire. What was the source when firefighters going in? And the source of this was there was one blog that they had an influencer create on the Stanley Cup. Now, actually, Stanley Cup is a hockey thing, but not that cup. The actual this cup, the Stanley. So with that said, that blog went super viral and increased their revenue pretty quickly from 70 to 100 million.
Nice.
Then Stanley started to observe, wow, when we put this in the hands of influencers and on blogs and on podcasts and those other places, people are starting to see it and they're starting to buy it. So then they went rogue on an influencer campaign, which took them from about 100 to 750 million.
Wow.
Right? Now, that's all. And now, of course, in between that, they did some digital marketing, they did everything else. But the heavy push was influencer marketing and PR. That is what helped move the needle. So there's something to learn that. So a 110-year-old company went from, again, I'm sure at certain points, a couple million, 20 million, 30 million, next boom, keep going. And then insanely to right under $1 billion. So 250 million, under $1 billion. Now the lesson to take away here that they did that we don't want anybody to wait 110 years to do is you have to understand that certain influencer marketing is so powerful, right? When you use the right influencers and you do the right thing, you can see magic happening. And it's not just, I think a lot of people think about just, let's throw it on their Instagram, let's throw it on their TikTok, let's have them say things and post it. Yes, they did that. But more importantly, they put this on podcasts. They put this in blogs that were popular. It's about finessing the right channels with influencers. So having this media diversity truly helped Stanley go from $73 million to $750 million. I mean, that's not even the same league, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
It's not even in the same damn league.
Right.
That is so much more money that they just added to their brand and to their revenue that they wouldn't have had if they didn't try that one thing, right? Let's put this on some blogs and boom, it took off. So don't wait 110 years. Start to think about how in your business, and it's something that we're focused on even at Adapting Social, and my other business, Commodity, that we have to start to look at who are the influencers in your business, in your market. And sometimes people think, let's just throw money at this person, they're popular. Do they actually have the reach that will potentially get customers into your saddle?
And the right audience, right? Which is so important.
And if the answer is no, then don't waste that money. But again, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. $750 million that with a year to 2 years to build to that level from 73 is unheard of. So the power of the right media diversity, marketing, and obviously especially the influencers, blew this brand up.
And paying attention to the posts from consumers too. I mean, I'm sure we could all remember that car fire that went viral with Stanley, and the car got lit on fire. The entire car was destroyed.
Boom, toast.
The Stanley, untouched. The water still had ice in it.
No way.
Yeah, it had ice in it.
Stanley plugged that. They were like, let's just set a car on fire.
No, they didn't. They actually, but they listened and paid attention to the content that was being put out there that had their products in it, and then they leaned into that to use for their own marketing, which 100%. Is so smart. But this actually goes hand in hand with one of the trends that I was going to talk about, which was Gen Alpha being brand obsessed, and especially with Stanley cups. Over the holidays, there were so many viral videos of little girls and boys opening up Stanley cups and being so excited for a cup. I don't remember being that excited for a cup when I was that age, but it's the brand that they're excited for, not necessarily the cup. And one of the reasons that Stanley did so well with that market is, one, because this generation is already brand obsessed, but also they released these limited edition products that gave Gen Alpha the scarcity mindset. Like, if I don't get that pink tie-dye Stanley, I'm not cool. So I absolutely need it, and it's going to be sold out. So there became a huge demand to be a part of that club, so to say. But right now, Gen Alpha is focused on brands. They ranked their top 100 coolest brands, and you would think that an adult made the list. It's like Starbucks, really high-end fashion brands, like not something that you would see Gen Alpha, who their oldest Gen Alpha is 14 years old.
Right.
Think about when you were 14 years old, right? You Starbucks probably wasn't your favorite brand of all time.
No.
Stanley was probably not your favorite brand of all time, but it's making the list for Gen Alpha, which is really interesting.
Wow. One thing to think about too, though, on that topic is, like, when you look at Starbucks, right? Starbucks, their brand is, I think they do a lot. They do a lot of money. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that, I forget what the statistic I read, but like they just have an insane amount of money, Starbucks. And when you think about why they're so damn popular and what their like secret trick is, like to get people in and to spend all that kind of money and keep coming back. And I started to do research on this because my wife is obsessed with Starbucks, and I don't like Starbucks because I don't drink coffee. But is they set up their marketing and their branding to be this higher end thing. And the reason why they chose Italian type of venti, this, that, whatever, because typically when you think Italian, this, that, you think luxury, more expensive, whatever. So they built that type into it. So they're saying things like that. Secondly, that's where the price tag comes in and makes it more, it's like, it makes you feel like it's Italian or whatever else. But secondly, they talked about how the name recognition and personal, they were the first brand to start writing your name on coffee cups. So, Megan, it's more personalized,
Yep.
And bottom line is, obviously, their brand value has just continued to skyrocket year over year. And to your point, when you see Starbucks in Gen Alpha or even, Gen Zs and stuff, it's like people see it and they think like, if I don't have that cup in my hand in the morning, am I successful? Or like, that's going to make me feel better about myself, whatever. So at the end of the day, it's putting these your brand, right? Your brand in front of the right people and doing what? And making it popular. That's what Stanley did.
Connecting with
That's
them.
what Starbucks totally, right?
Yeah, really connecting with them. The study across Gen Alpha said that the brands that are doing the best with that generation are the ones that are truly connecting. They're not trying to sell them anything. They're not trying to educate them. They're connecting with them. They're being real and relevant and human-like, which is really important.
Next topic I have is, 10 years ago, okay? So we've been around since 2008. So obviously this is, a couple of years after that. But 10 years ago, we were doing some research, and around 30 to 31% of in the US of businesses were utilizing digital marketing. Okay, 30 to 31% out of all of the US economy. Right now, what do you think that number is? If you had a guess.
Using digital marketing?
Yep, using marketing, digital marketing.
87, 93.
So 96. Right. So right now, 96% of businesses are utilizing digital marketing. Where I remember, going back, this is a 10-year ago study, but when you look at that, I remember I had to convince people why they should be advertising on Google, right? They're like, what? No, I don't need that, whatever.
Or why they needed a Facebook.
Right. And so now 96%. So why am I bringing this up? Why is this important? That means that no matter what industry you're in, okay, there are an absolute F ton of people in that same industry marketing, right? Google, Facebook, all meta platforms, LinkedIn, they're using the digital landscape to market themselves and get their brand out there. Why is this important for you? Because a lot of times, we even are obviously always constantly having to create and get creative and be innovative with how we can help ourselves and our clients think and be out of the box of their competition. And one of the things that we're seeing is the normal conventional out of the box thinking of where we thought before isn't good enough anymore. People having crazy offers, or people having cool brands, people having these things that used to work don't work anymore because there's so much competition advertising, and they're in the same place, right? I remember thinking about it one time where, and this was going a couple of years back, but I used to be like against like going to trade shows and going here and there, because I'm sitting in this trade show and all these marketers like me, right, are at the same trade show, and they're jumping on every single potential lead. These person, like, why would I want to be everywhere my competition is, right? Now, to put it in perspective, in this day and age we're living in right now, that is what digital marketing is.
Right.
But when you do it the right way, it sets yourself up for success. As an example, right? So like one of the things that we do, right, at Adapting Social that you can probably take and make better for your business in some way is like we offer, that free strategy, right? Now, in most cases, a free strategy, people are like, oh, it's some template thing. Like, no, we actually are building and going through your business with you, no obligation, right? That has helped us get in regular amounts of traffic. Doesn't mean everybody closes, but that gets in a healthy amount of traffic. Now, in your business, like as an example, there are all these different types of businesses out there that will give away a particular, it could be advice or free access to their software that costs them millions of dollars to build and to maintain, but they're giving you free access to it because they want you as a lead to come in.
Right.
That's what we have to do here. The name of the game, unfortunately, is there is some free around it because you have to do the back end, right? When we're doing it here at Adapting Social, yes, of course, we're spending time, and time is money. We're spending resources to get these strategies built out for these businesses. But we're looking at it, number one, we want to help businesses regardless. So if they don't work with us, no problem. As long as they're thriving, that's all we care about. But secondly, realistically, if they go out in the world and try to do it themselves, which typically happens, and like they can't do it or they don't have enough time to do it, they typically come back to us. So to us, and the way that you look at that framework is the back end, right?
Yeah.
So it's not about the front end. You're giving it away. It's costing you money. It's free, right, for them, but it's costing you. But in the back end, they're like, okay, wow, I spoke to Adapting Social, I spoke to Megan, or whatever software, I did all this stuff, I had a great experience, but you know what, I need something else or I need more, typically they'll come back. So in your world, what type of value, how can you over-deliver for somebody who hasn't paid you $1 yet? That's the key. How can you over-deliver for somebody who hasn't paid you $1? Most people don't want to do that. Most people are like, well, I need to be paid, I need this, I want to make $1 gazillion. It's like, you have to over-deliver first in order to get that.
Absolutely.
So, something to keep in mind, because again, we are in a very, very saturated market, no matter what industry you're in.
Yeah, we are in a saturated market.
Yeah.
Especially on social media, right? I mean, everywhere online, it's oversaturated, but especially on social media. And I was actually having a conversation with a client last week, and we were talking about just creative ways to use some of the resources that they already had to cut through a competitive market online. And we were talking about touch points. And I think, to your point, starting that relationship off and being a resource for them is so important. And then after that, we have touch points, right? We follow up with them, we check in on them. And it's so important. We have to create those touch points across all channels. So we were talking about ways to use their email list, because they have a really big email list.
Right.
And those are people who maybe reached out to you for that free strategy or for some sort of gated content or resource, but maybe they weren't ready to actually move forward with the purchase of your product or your service.
Totally.
And there's ways to repurpose that those email addresses. You can create a custom audience on Meta and send an ad out to them. You can boost social posts to that custom audience.
Right.
You could also segment those emails maybe by what they were interested in and continue to send them very specific content, right? Or you can retarget them through ad roll, but you're creating all of these touch points across channels to just poke them, like remind them that they reached out to you and that you're still here for them. But you can use those email lists for retargeting purposes, and it's important that you do that, actually.
Totally. Definitely. Yeah. So again, and just to clarify, we're not saying here like, hey, it's saturated market, don't be in the game. If you're not in the game, then you're not even existing, right? So you have to be in the game.
Right.
But it's more of a matter of how you essentially position your offering. That's going to either make you attractive or make you just another statistic, which is like boring. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Now, speaking of lookalike audiences, even though it is something that you can use across Meta or AdRoll, LinkedIn is actually removing their lookalike audiences. That's the newest and latest update for LinkedIn advertising, which essentially just means a lookalike audience means that you're putting in a list of emails and the platform is finding other audience members who look like the person that you put in. Right. So it's looking for the same characteristics and behaviors. So when they're removing the lookalike audiences, it just means that you're not going to be able to target based off of somebody else's behavior. So I can't target based off of John's behavior, but I can predict what my target audience is going to do and then use those behaviors as targeting options. So it is constricting our targeting options on LinkedIn, but it's not putting a complete halt to it, to finding new consumers.
Which I think is, I'm curious about that judgment call. It's a little, to me, it's like, what's annoying? It's like LinkedIn is already difficult to market on as it is. So it's one of those things where it's like, if that's really the case, which obviously, it is, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, you're just making it harder. LinkedIn isn't like the most, everybody go advertise on LinkedIn. So the fact that they're doing that makes it more challenging for advertisers, which is an interesting move. Let's see how it plays out. I don't think it's going to play out in their favor because typically in business, you want to have the segmentation be simplified by lookalike. Right. So the fact that you can't do that now, it's like LinkedIn. I get it. Obviously, you still market towards job titles and whatever else, but it's just they're making it more difficult.
They are. A lot of ad platforms are, but it's just it forces us to get more creative, right? In targeting and reaching the right audiences. And it's the exact reason why you should all tune in each week to learn about these updates.
Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. My last one I have here is podcast over blogs or podcast versus blogs, better yet. So right now, if I were to ask you, how many podcasts do you think there are, like active podcasts?
In the world?
Yeah.
Millions.
Say yes.
Oh my God, John, I don't know. 70 million.
What do you think, Chubbs? 100,000. 100,000. Going low ball. All right.
That's not a lot at all. You know that, right?
So it's 4.2 million. Okay.
What did I say?
You said hundreds of million. So there's 4.2 million. So you both heard his ass
way
opposite.
Less than I thought.
Right. So now, how many blogs do you think there are in the world?
Oh my God, millions.
So give me a number. No more generalizations.
30 million.
30 mils. What do you think?
I would say 100 million.
Hundo. All right. So Rob's like, I'm stepping it up here. He's putting his chips on the table now. So there's over 1 billion blogs.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference. So what we did was we did some deep diving research. Obviously, Breaking Barriers, which is Adapting Social Podcast, is a top 5% business category podcast. And so we started to do some research on what it is that is gaining the most consumer attention. And I think there's close to 80% of search traffic, right, on search engines is not even looked at and has no traffic. And those 80% are blogs. Yep. So it could be a dog blog, it could be a mother blog, it could be this blog, that blog, and all these blogs just sit there and nothing happens, right? So in the research, what it shows is those same types of industries that are not getting the blog views that they want when they have podcasts, it typically gets at least, because it's anemic, there's like nothing. It gets at least 15 to 20% more viewership and engagement through the community because it's a video or audio and there's a way to watch and interact with it. So what this means is right now going into 2024 here is most people who are like, I'm going to create a blog or I'm going to, whatever. If you don't have the intentions to have a podcast and a blog, right now based on the data we're seeing, it's going to be pointless. Unless it's so niche that like people are like, oh, it's like for Corvette lovers or it's something that has a big community, a raving fan community, and it's super niche, then in most cases, your blog is not going to be looked at. Having that said, the way to ignite that is to have a podcast on top of that. It's the same theme, the same theories. The only difference is you're creating content. It's video, it's audio, and it's an experience as opposed to somebody having to read and not like want to read essentially. So With that said, for people out there, and I've said this time and time again with that before I had this data, but creating a podcast at this current intersection of where we are in business and brand should not even be a question anymore. If you're a business or a brand and you don't have a podcast, it is just silly at this point. It's completely silly because you having a podcast gives you the ability to talk about your industry, talk about and showcase your expertise.
And your personality.
Totally. Your products, whatever, feature people, get your customers on, get potential customers on, have guests, people. Again, you're putting more eyes on your brand. Video content wins. So with that said, when you're thinking about it, if you're out there, now again, I'm not saying don't have a blog, right? Because it's great for SEO and it's great for other areas. But in terms of getting viewership and growing and building, a podcast is one of these things that we're seeing is going to help way rocket ship and just blast you forward versus just doing a blog. Mm-hmm. Something to keep in mind. And again, like I said, it's great content that you can post on social. For the people out there who are like, oh, I don't really have time to do this. Pop a camera up in your office, on your desk, on a tripod for $5 on Amazon. Do it on your phone. Take quick clips, whatever. You don't have to be professional. Most people don't expect in the beginning for you to be a Hollywood actor or actress. They expect you to just create some content and then you go from there. And as you continue to go and go, like again, with us, with Breaking Barriers or even Rise and Grind, the beginning of all these different things, if you go back to our first podcast, they were so shoddy. It looked like we were homeless. It was terrible, right? But now it's different. We have a studio. It's more legit, but it has to evolve. But you have to start somewhere. So with that said, definitely create a podcast this year. And if you guys need support, we got your back. Absolutely. All right. I think those are all the topics that we have for this week. All right, guys. Happy Monday. I hope everybody out there crushes their week. We are pretty much, we're in Q1 of 2024, which is bananas. So I hope you guys are focused. I hope you guys are dialed. And again, if you know a business owner, a professional in sales, an executive, or anybody who has a brand that needs these types of tips and innovation, send them our way. Share this with them. And obviously on YouTube and major channels, you can like and subscribe and get notified for when we do this every Monday, 9 a.m. We'll see you next Monday.